I'm 29 now, but this happened to me when I was around 13. I was in an old family house that we still have, and I think I was just unlucky to be there and unlucky to wake up when I did. To start with, I need to let you know about this place. This is a house that was built literally room by room in the center of a small village, far from anything else. I can tell you that it started being built in the mid 1800s, and back then, when you wanted to make your home bigger, you'd either build it yourself or you'd buy a room from the house next to yours and connect it to your house. This is what my great-grandfather did over and over again until we were left with this massive house we know today. I've done the math with my grandma, and we think you'd be able to fit around 30 people in there to spend the night. The whole "I want my house to be bigger so I'll buy a room next door" idea seems really funny now, but the problem with it is you can't know what might have happened in the room you're buying, and no one really thought about that at the time. So this is a big family home, and for as long as I can remember, every Christmas we go there and have a great time with the entire family. The whole postcard family picture around the fire and all. Eventually, since the house is so old, it started decaying, so my grandma decided work needed to be done there, and we started going more and more during the works. This is when my story comes to life. Back then, my other grandfather, on the other side of the family, wasn't doing too well after my grandmother's death. We went around with him everywhere on holidays to get his mind off things. This particular time, my parents decided to take him with us to spend some days at this house, while my living grandmother and my dad supervised the works being done. Everything seemed completely normal when we got there. Because of the works being done though, my usual bedroom wasn't available, so I ended up having to sleep with my grandfather in the smallest and creepiest bedroom the house had. I say had because since then it has been turned into a bathroom, but back then it was still a tiny bedroom with no windows, two old wooden doors instead of one that would come together but never actually close, two old single beds with old creaking chicken wire for a mattress base, and mattresses that were probably the first invention after the old hay ones. Needless to say, I hated the bedroom. It used to be my grandmother's and my great-aunt's bedroom, and then my father's cousins after that, and it still had all their creepy toys and plushies, and an old blue and white painting of my great-grandfather that I swear wouldn't take its eyes off me every time I came by it. That particular first night, I wasn't very happy with having to sleep in the bedroom. Not only it was super creepy, but it also opened into an old cold hallway that would echo no matter what furniture was in it because of every wall, ceiling, or floor being made of stone. To make things worse, my great-grandfather was a doctor, the only one around the area, so there was this glass cabinet in one of the corners full of old vials of medical liquids and syringes that he probably used in his days of work. In any case, I was creeped out by the fact that I had to sleep there, but I didn't want it to show, so I just accepted my fate and told myself it was fine. Until nighttime came. Me and my grandfather went to bed. After a bit I could hear my grandmother and my parents going out of the living room, turning off the lights and going into their usual rooms on the opposite side of the house. It took me longer than usual to fall asleep because of how much I detested having to be there, but not hours long. At some point I could hear my grandfather's heavier breath on the bed next to mine, which meant he was already out. Eventually, I put on a YouTube video on my phone, put it next to my head just under the pillow, covered myself up to the top of my head, having only my nose out so I didn't have to breathe the stale air inside the covers, and that's the last thing I remember before waking up to possibly the worst night of my life. Somewhere in the middle of the night, I suddenly woke up to a nightmare so bad that it felt like it was coming through to reality. In this nightmare, I could see only a grey background, sort of blurred like I needed glasses but didn't have them on me. This blurred grey background was just there, sitting still, when I started hearing this little girl's laugh in the distance. Eventually, I started seeing the faded silhouette of a little girl in a dress, a dark shape showing up blurred in the middle of the grey, blurred background. I panicked. I took in a massive deep breath, and when I woke up from it, I could almost swear I heard this laugh in the house. What I actually heard, though, wasn't a little girl laughing. My head was still covered. I was still in the same position, so I thought not long had gone by. I took some breaths to try to calm myself down and made my phone screen turn on. It was around 2:20 a.m. A heavy bootstep echoed in the hallway right in front of the bedroom doors. I stopped breathing. I stopped thinking. I stopped everything while my brain tried to process what the hell I just heard. Another footstep. I instantly covered my phone screen to smother the light and froze under the covers. At that point, I considered myself lucky with how thick they were. Another step, and another followed, this time going a bit farther and farther until I could tell they were at the end of the corridor. My body was frozen solid. I was so horrified that any breath I took would attract whoever this was, that any attempts to make my breathing more silent were just resulting in hiccups of air coming in and out of me. At the same time, I was trying to rationalize this and convince myself that this was only my dad walking around at night to do what? Another footstep, and another one, coming closer again. The footsteps were too heavy to be my grandmother, or my mother. Deep down though, I knew my dad's footsteps didn't sound like that. Another footstep, and another, and they kept coming right up to the doors, and then back away from them, all the way until the end of the corridor. Each step echoing and tell me exactly where whoever this was standing. Every time they went away, my body would relax and hope and pray for them to just go out of the door. Every time they turned around and started coming closer again, my body would tense up until frozen solid, to the point that I would sweat and ache at the same time, and would yet be kept completely unable to relax or even move. The steps went away once more. In my thoughts, I was almost praying for them to go. And closer again. By now my muscles felt like I had just finished a full workout. That lasted for hours. And I was still completely unable to relax and let go of this complete and unrelenting panic. This time though, the fear multiplied by 10. I could feel my eyes widening because suddenly and slowly I heard the bedroom doors creak and whine open. I was almost crying, muffling my breath when the footsteps slowly and heavily made their way between my bed and my grandfather's bed. How was he not awake from this? My panic was making me rage at my grandfather for not waking up and scaring this person away. I could feel their presence just standing there between us, deciding what to do next. And then, slowly, the footsteps turned around, walked outside the bedroom, into the hallway, and all the way to the end of it again. I was completely exhausted by now. It had to have been like 1 hour since I woke up because of this. I clicked my phone screen on. 2:25. I remember thinking I had to be seeing it wrong, or maybe the time was wrong on my phone. Just wishful thinking. The footsteps came back, going slowly up and down the hallway. By now, every single muscle of my body was hurting, exhausted, and at the end of what they could take, and I couldn't believe it was still 4 hours at least until the first sign of light outside could scare this person or thing away. Footsteps up and down the corridor, slowly torturing my heart, making it pound harder when it came closer and a little less hard when it went away, like it was pulling my heartstrings and I had no say in it. Eventually, from the extreme exhaustion the panic was causing me, I drifted off into sleep. I have no idea if this was a self-preservation response from my body to allow me to rest a little bit, but when I woke up again, nothing had changed. Slow, heavy footsteps were going up and down the corridor, coming closer and too close to the bedroom doors, and then moving away again. One of the times they moved away, I clicked at my phone in panic, hoping it was almost daytime. 2:40. It was almost like I had fainted for a bit, and was back awake as soon as my body could bear it. The footsteps turned around at the end of the corridor, then back to me, closer, closer, and closer. Bedroom doors creak, and the footsteps are back inside the bedroom, and this heavy presence is back, standing between me and my grandfather. I couldn't even sob. I couldn't take in air, which I would otherwise have done uncontrollably. I am not kidding when I tell you that this went on for hours. To me it felt like it had been days without a ray of sunshine coming through the bedroom doors that kept being left ajar. I felt like my body just couldn't take it anymore, and yet this panic would not loosen grip on my muscles, until suddenly the footsteps just ceased. I perked my ears up. I couldn't be sure this was true. Was it done? My muscles loosened their grip on me, and the full exhaustion from everything that happened hit me even harder than before. I clicked my phone awake. 5:30. Oh, thank God. I held myself still for a little longer, and when I was sure there was no presence in the bedroom and no footsteps in the hallway, I turned in bed. The chicken wire under the mattress whined at this while I lowered the covers just enough to be able to take a peek at the doors. They were still both slightly open, and the distinct light of the start of the day was coming through. I felt complete relaxation and bliss. I could breathe again. One more footstep sounded through the house. It made me jump and instantly cover my head again. Then another footstep, and another one. But these were lighter, faster, like a happy energy roaming around the house. It was my grandma. I got up immediately, refusing to lay there another second, and just joined her in the morning routines, even going out with her to buy bread at 6:30 in the morning. I welcomed the thought of leaving the house like never before. I never told her what happened, though she did ask why I was up so early, since she spent more time in the house than me and her bedroom was so far away from that hell of a hallway. I decided not to make her worried. I did check all the doors and windows before we left to check if anyone would have been able to come in the house unnoticed, but found nothing. All the doors and windows were locked from the inside as they should be. In the days after that, I absolutely refused to sleep in the same bedroom and instead slept in my grandma's bedroom, which generally wouldn't have been much better because right in front of the bed where I had to sleep there was this huge Narnia-like wardrobe with a massive mirror in the front that always scared me. But at that time, that was infinitely better than going through what I had just gone through again. This bedroom isn't there anymore. During the works it was eventually turned into a bathroom, which I actually am glad was done. There are about 10 other bathrooms in the house, so I'd never have to stick around that one for too long. Ever again.